Welcome to Middlesex Moments from Middlesex Community College in Middletown. I'm Steve Minkler, the college CEO. First up is our news segment called In the Loop, a few short stories highlighting some of the many great things happening at your community college. Due to the recent spike in COVID cases, Middlesex Community College has moved to mostly virtual operations for the week of January 3rd, 2022. Students and the general public can still access all of our services online by visiting mxcc.edu/alerts, alerts. Virtual operations means the campus will be closed to the public with the following exceptions. The bookstore and Founders Hall will be open on a limited basis. The non-credit Skill Up for Manufacturing class will be held at Vinyl Technical High School as planned. The non-credit phlebotomy makeup sessions will be held on campus as scheduled. And Vita income tax volunteer services will happen as scheduled. The Connecticut State Colleges and Universities system is monitoring the public health situation very closely. Please stay tuned to WLIS WMRD for updates, or visit mxcc.edu for the latest information. The Middlesex Community College Foundation has received a $12,000 grant from the Gene Haas Foundation to fund the college's scholarship programs. The Gene Haas Foundation scholarships are based on merit and will be awarded to precision manufacturing students to cover tuition, books, and supplies. Middlesex student Glenda Rivera said, "The Gene Haas Foundation scholarship helped me complete the last semester of college after I lost my financial aid. I wouldn't have been able to graduate without it." Glenda currently works as a quality assurance analyst for Habisat America, a global company for conveyor belt systems located in Middletown. She said she hopes her degree will advance her career. In other scholarship news, the MxCC Foundation established a scholarship to recognize student Miguel Jurado, who passed away in a car accident this past fall. Business professor Sue Lugley said he was a very devoted Vita volunteer, helping with free income tax preparation for many years. He also interned for Brown & Brown Insurance, and that led him to a career with them as an accountant manager. He achieved many of his goals that he set forth when he came to MxCC. We're deeply sorry to the family of Miguel Jurado for their loss, and we do miss him here on campus. Now you're in the loop with what's happening here at your community college. Later in today's show, Professor Jennifer Hernandez gives us all some insight to stay calm and reduce stress. And coming up after the break, we'll talk with Enrollment Services Director Samantha Plourd about our upcoming registration events. You're listening to Middlesex Moments from Middlesex Community College on WLIS WMRD.
Your future begins here. At Middlesex Community College, you will find affordable, quality education to land the career of your choice. With over 70 options, make the decision to start now. Visit mxcc.edu to get started today.
Welcome back to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from Middlesex Community College. I'm Steve Minkler, the college CEO. And joining me now is our Interim Director of Enrollment Management, Dr. Samantha Plourd. Hi, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Well, Sam, now we're in the month of January, and people might be thinking about it's time to register for college or maybe consider going to college. And why is it a great time to come to a community college nowadays?
Well, as we all know, things are in flux right now. Things are constantly changing. And if you're uncertain of what you want to do, or maybe you don't want to spend all that money to go to an in-state school or a four-state private school and kind of spend all that money not knowing if it's going to turn virtual and maybe not get all the experiences you had hoped for, or maybe you just want to try to save money, community colleges are the best place to go. We have lots of variety, diverse classes. We have course offerings and programs that are fantastic at a very affordable cost for students. And you can pick and choose if you want to try that business course you always wanted to try, or maybe you wanted to take a psychology class. You wanted to kind of maybe dabble in some history. Lots of options for students at a very affordable cost.
So let's talk about that affordability for a moment. So for a student who's, paying out of pocket, the cost to come to the college for full-time for a year is about what nowadays?
A year is about $4,500. Okay. Just under 5,000, but it's about $2,200 a semester.
And we have all sorts of financial aid for students who want to come to college or come back to college.
Absolutely. So we have one student fills out their FAFSA application, which is a yearly annual application that they fill out. The student can then be eligible for Pell Grants, Middlesex Community College grants, and then in addition, we have new students that could be eligible for our Pact, which is our Pledge to Advance Connecticut, which is our debt-free community college program that allows students to attend community colleges free of charge. There's no cost to it except for the cost of your books, which is a fantastic program.
And that's a new program. I think we're now in our second full year of doing this. So how does that exactly work? So if someone wanted to take advantage of Pact, is that designed for a particular kind of student? And what do they need to do to get that option?
Yes, so the Pact program is designed for brand new students who have never taken college courses except those taken while in high school. They have to have graduated from a Connecticut high school, including homeschooled students and GED recipients. And they have to complete their FAFSA and register full-time in consecutive semesters. So you have to take classes consistently and continuously, and you get your Pact, you get your tuition and fees waived for up to a total of 72 credits. So as long as you've met that criteria, you file your FAFSA, you register full-time, you're a Connecticut graduate, and you have no prior college classes except those taken while in high school, you're eligible for the Pact program. There are deadlines that you want to adhere to. So for the spring semester, we want to make sure you get registered right away. For the fall semester, it's a July 15th deadline. But you want to make sure that you get registered and get your FAFSA in. Those are the biggest things.
Okay. And that takes care of tuition and fees, but students still have to pay their own books and maybe a couple of other small fees, things like that, right?
Correct.
So that's a great option for many students. Like you said, students particularly coming right out of high school, even though there's no age floor or age limit, there's no income limit, so it's really available to any student who hasn't yet taken college classes, but it seems really tailor-made for the student who's coming out of high school, and maybe a great option for a lot of students this coming fall if they're graduating from high school this year.
Absolutely. We hope to see lots of students. We're starting to see a little bit of the culture of the community colleges are changing a little bit as we're starting to pull in more younger students. So our campuses are really active, really lively, adding more student activities and student support systems to help the influx of the traditional age student, the 18 to 24-year-olds.
Yep. And I think one of the things that's really helped these students too is that we've brought many more of our classes back on ground now that the pandemic is shifting, and we could talk a little bit about what's happening right now in January, but we're seeing more students coming back on ground, and they're really happy about that.
Yes, absolutely. The students want to be involved. They want to be on campus. With that, we are making sure that our students are still safe. We are still adhering to all of our policies, and a lot of our events we've actually been putting on outdoors. And making sure that the students are still getting that activity, that whether they're going on a hike or they're doing cornhole outside in our green area, we're doing things outside so that students are staying as safe as possible.
That's great. So let's talk about how students can learn more about Middlesex Community College, or maybe they are current students and kind of have put off registering for the spring semester. Like you were saying, we're doing things as safely as possible. In fact, as we're recording this, the first week of January, the college is in virtual operations, so our campus is closed to the public. But that doesn't mean that students can't get what they need from the college. Your team is actually running virtual drop-in sessions this week, right?
Yes, so from 9 to 5 every day this week, we're going to be available via WebEx. So it's an enrollment services WebEx where if you need help with advising, if you need help with financial aid, if you need help from the business office, if you need help from admissions, you can just drop right into the WebEx. Somebody will be there to sort of direct you to the right room. If you need to speak to somebody, let's say admissions, they're going to pop you into the admissions room, and somebody there can help you with whatever your needs are virtually. That will be happening this week. We are available, like I said, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with advisors available. So most students at this point need advising. Advisors will be available. You can meet with them one-on-one. So you don't have to feel like you're meeting in a group or anything like that. They are one-on-one sessions where you meet in a room. You can talk with them about your experiences, what you're looking for, the courses you're hoping to take, and then you'll leave the session registered for your classes.
Okay. And people can find that link on our website, which is?
www.mxcc.edu. You can actually go to the advising page and it's there.
Okay, great. Now, looking ahead to the weeks of January 10th and 17th, I should say our classes for the spring semester begin Friday, January 21st. So between now and then, we're still assessing whether the college should remain virtual or have some on-ground presence the weeks of the 10th and the 17th. So, stay tuned to this station, WLAS-WMRD, and our website, mxcc.edu, for more information. But whether they are virtual or in person, I know we've got some events scheduled in the future. So let's tell our listeners about what those events are and how they can find us.
Sure. So right now, let's say that we are going to be available in person. We have January 10th. We have a virtual and an in-person registration session from 4 to 7. So to try to help anybody that works the traditional hours, needs to come in after hours, we're available from 4 to 7. We are going to be at our Pact campus location on January 11th from 3 to 6 p.m. for in-person registration. On the 13th, we have both a morning session from 9 to 12, and then again from 4 to 7, again, virtual and in person. So we're available both ways. And then lastly, next week, we are also offering next Saturday, January 15th, we're going to help host an enroll-in event day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., where all of our traditional enrollment offices will be available. Admissions, financial aid, advising, registrar, business office, the bookstore will be available for you guys to come in. If you are busy during the week, we know how time can get away from you during the week. It's that 9 to 5 grind can get kind of tiring. So we're available on Saturday from 9 to 1. Come in and see us. We can help you get registered. If things switch over to virtual, we'll make sure that those registration events are readily available so that you can access them right away.
That's great. And yeah, I think the key there is making ourselves as accessible as possible for students who want to come to Middlesex and take a great course. We have a couple of our programs that actually do admissions in the spring semester, and these are our radiologic technology program and veterinary technology programs. And how can students find out more about each of those programs, and are there deadlines associated with when they have to apply for them?
Yes, so those deadlines are approaching. We have a couple of selective admissions programs where students have to meet certain criteria before can apply to the programs. I believe the deadlines are coming up at the beginning of March. We have a Rad Tech information session on January 12th at 11. We have just general admissions info sessions on January 11th at 5 and January 20th at 3. But if you have any questions, you can certainly email us and we can get you the information directly.
Super. Thank you. And, I know you've been a guest on this program before, and one of the phrases that you use that really encapsulates your philosophy of how we run enrollment services at Middlesex Community College is this idea from beginning to end, but I'll let you talk about that.
Sure. So one of my previous mentors, he used the phrase from parking lot to graduation, and that couldn't encompass us more. We help the student from the moment that they park on our campus, walking through the door, helping them through their traditional admissions application, helping them get registered, filing their FAFSA, and then we're there for them through the duration of their stay. We walk them through semester by semester registration. We help them with any paperwork that they need, requesting transcripts. And then we're also there for them once they actually apply for graduation. So we are there from literally parking lot all the way to graduation. Our enrollment services team really is dynamic from A to Z to help the students. We really do get to know our students by name. They come into our door, they say, hey, I applied for graduation. All they have to do is tell us their name. Yeah, I processed your graduation application. Congratulations, it's great to see you. So our team works really closely with these students from the very beginning all the way to the end.
And you've been able to see that difference yourself. You've worked at larger colleges, and not to say Middlesex is this tiny little college, but I think we are just the perfect size for somebody who wants that professionally embracing environment where we really do get to know our students. So how have you seen that difference between a larger college and Middlesex?
Yeah, it's, we really are like a little bit like a family. The students, I was invited to guest speak in a class. And so I guest spoke in a class. And then a little bit later, that one of the students in the class asked me to be in she was doing a homeschool information session. She asked me to be a guest speaker in the information session that she was doing for homeschooled students through PTK. And then she came to the office because she had to drop off paperwork and she was like, oh, Miss Samantha. So I saw her 3 times in just a couple of weeks and she knew who I was and she knew what my role was at the college. And that's not, when you're at a school that's 10 or 15,000 students, that's hard to do. You only get to know the students that you're directly involved in frequently. And sometimes it's not always for the best reason, but right. Here it is for the good reason. They recognize who you are and what you do and are happy to keep coming back.
And it's a small enough campus. I mean, whether you're on our main campus or at our Pact campus in Meriden, it's physically small enough, even though our main campus is gorgeous at the same time. We got all this space outside. It's a pretty cool place to be right now.
Oh, absolutely. I take frequent walks around campus because it's just so beautiful to walk around.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Samantha Plourd, our Interim Director of Enrollment Management, thanks for joining me today on Middlesex Moments.
Thank you, Steve.
And we'll have more Middlesex Moments from Middlesex Community College after this break. This is WLIS WMRD.
Discover your potential at Middlesex Community College. Have these times of uncertainty found you unemployed or looking for a career change? Do you want to start a career as unique as you but aren't sure how to get started? The time is now. Middlesex Community College offers affordable options for a high-quality education. Conveniently located in the cities of Middletown, Meriden, and online, your path is straightforward and easy. Middlesex Community College. Your college. Your future.
Welcome back to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from Middlesex Community College. I'm Steve Minkler, and joining me now is Dr. Jennifer Hernandez, who is a professor and program coordinator of the Human Services and Social Work Studies programs at the college. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me today.
And Jen, we're actually teaching and learning and working in a really anxious time. I mean, normally college is kind of stressful for our students, but if you throw together an economic dislocation and a health pandemic around the world, this is really extraordinary for our students. I understand last week you had an open forum for some of our students. What were some of the things you were hearing from them?
Yeah, we did. We had an open forum where some of our students came in, and I shared the space with a couple of their colleagues from our campus. And some of the conversations that came up were really around the anxiety about what are we doing and the uncertainty. So the uncertainty brings anxiety, the anxiety brings other things. And people were just really talking about how do we stay still in this moment of crisis. Some of the feedback that we discussed included, one of the things that I think about so much is that this is a pandemic. And when I say that, I like people to kind of sit still with that for a second, in that we've never experienced this before, nor has anybody in the world. And when we can kind of think about that, we can kind of give ourselves a break in terms of the complexities of what we're trying to figure out. Every single person in our story is trying to figure out what's next, what policies are going to change, what is it going to look like, right? So we can add some normalcy to the idea that we don't know what's going on. And so to honor our spaces and honor our being and honor those around us too, because we can tend to add to our stresses by becoming really frustrated because we don't have the answers.
It seems sort of simple just to take it back to what do I have control over and not worry so much about the things that we can't control. Did that topic come up as a starting point for many of the students you were speaking with?
Yes, absolutely. The thought is that what do we have control of, right? We don't have control of what's happening around us with the pandemic, but what we do have some control over is what we look at and how we look at our mind, body, and spirit. The philosophy of the Human Services program at Middlesex does include that in an overall concept that we try to have our students really recognize that as future providers, that's the priority in their lives. When we were looking and talking with students from campus during our open forum, we talked about how do we take some control back with our mind, and around our body and around our spirit, so that we can ground ourselves to be okay in the world that we're in with all the things that are going on. Some of the conversation included how do we sleep? Mm-hmm. And so we talked about routines and creating a routine around going to sleep to honor yourself. And I use that word honor yourself quite a bit because I think in a time such as this, that's all we can do. We talked about preparing sleep and preparing routines around sleep. Preparing some of the things we've heard in other local media is making routines during the day. But what I ask students to do is to do it with intent. We talked about all these things that we hear about, but what I'm saying is to slow down a little bit and be intentful about those moments. Pay attention to what's happening around you and what feels good. For example, we talked about sometimes you don't want to take a shower before you go to bed, right? Sometimes people are like, oh, I haven't really done much, so why shall I take a shower? But think about it in terms of honoring your body, in that you're washing away the day, you're giving your body an opportunity to decompress, because when we're working in the day, we're sitting there with our shoulders up, we're getting stressed, and our body has that reaction to that. The nighttime routine of having a nice shower brings your body to a place of respect. It gives your body an opportunity to relax, getting the bedroom ready so that it's cool and dark. getting rid of all those lights, getting rid of the computer screen, the text messaging, all of those kinds of things to start to create a routine to honor and respect your body so that you can get a good night's sleep. What's concerning, we know, is that around this time with such uncertainty too, that depression and anxiety, PTSD, it does increase in terms of symptoms. It becomes this fight or flight that we're experiencing in a constant hypervigilance is kind of what I say a lot. Even something as simple as going to the grocery store is now, we're at this high in our body. Our adrenaline is going. So we're constantly up there. So more than ever, it's important for us to be still and to think about how we can incorporate honoring and respecting the mind, body, and the spirit.
Now, you were instrumental in establishing something on our campus called the Listening Lounge, and I'm wondering if you could tell our listeners what the Listening Lounge is and how that's been adapted to this online environment that we're currently operating under.
The Listening Lounge is a collaboration with the University of St. Joe's, where we have been able to bring in MSW, Masters of Social Work students who are in their senior years to come in and do their internship hours to provide free counseling services to our students at Middlesex. The unique approach that University of St. Joe's has is that they also bring on a clinical preceptor so that the students who are working towards their MSWs are able to be supervised by a clinical preceptor who is a licensed clinician. Middlesex Community College is really fortunate because our licensed clinician that supervises the interns happens to be a local clinician that's right down the street from us on Saybrook Road. Throughout the semester, we were able to provide counseling services to our students, as I said, free of charge throughout the week. When this pandemic started and we had to change to online, what we did was, because University of St. Joe's had some changes as well, we ended up partnering with several local clinicians who have agreed to take on our students for a phone call for some supportive counseling to either stay on with them or to be referred out to other services. We've had a couple opportunities where students have actually approached us for that service, and we have been able to very quickly get our students connected with local clinicians.
I'm really glad that we've been able to continue that as we've tried to continue all of our student support services in this very challenging time and doing it all remotely. What have you heard from students about this distancing from each other? Do they miss seeing each other?
They do miss seeing each other. I miss seeing them. I miss seeing faculty and staff from our campus. That social support aspect is so important to our bodies, mind, and spirit. I have been holding most of my classes virtually in the Human Services program as a whole. Students that are in the Human Services program have had that opportunity to hold virtual classes with their adjunct faculty. The reason we chose that was because of that understanding of that human connection, the visualization of seeing people, just as others in business settings have done, having virtual meetings, things such as that. We recognize that that meets a human need that's really important. They've definitely said that there is a disconnect from the experiences where they haven't had virtual interactions. They don't feel as connected. Some of the words that I've actually heard that they've actually longed for some of that. Our students seem to be very open to it, as recognized in our open forum, having students that have attended those types of open forums. Our students in our programs too have engaged in side conversations or side groups where they're learning how to use Zoom themselves, or they're doing FaceTime, because we really want to encourage that social support. And I encourage that for everybody to make sure that you have some social hours. Even with other faculty, we've had social hours where you say, okay, let's meet on Thursday at 4 and, just chat a little bit.
Yeah, and when you're talking about having virtual classes, you mean doing these all at the same time using some sort of video conference technology, right? So everybody's connected at the same time.
Yeah, in fact, what most of the human services faculty have done, including myself, is that we've been holding our classes at the regular time. So, for example, one of my classes meets Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30. So we meet Tuesdays. We've been meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30, and so all of the students can log on, and we've had some really fun with that. We've been able to meet some of our students' children, which I can't help but to think what an amazing opportunity that is, because their children are getting to see their parents going through this work towards their academic goals. And how do we know what seeds are being planted in those young ones' lives, that college is going to be part of their story because they've now seen it.
Right.
I had a little one come up during class and during her mom's video, and she said, "Oh, my professor is back. I get to see my professor." And so she's like 4.
Wow.
I think, how fun is that we're planting the seed in their lives too. Then this is the new normal. I feel for so many families that are teaching and trying to get through their children's education while balancing their own. And this is another topic that comes up a lot for our students. How do you do this? One thing that I've said to parents is, please be kind to yourself. What narrative is your child going to have when they look back at this 15, 20 years from now? And this is spoken about in their history books and in their classes, because this will be, right? And so what narrative are those children going to remember? And I try to say to parents for them to hear that this is where they do actually have some control in terms of how that narrative is written for their child. So we have the academics there that are so important, we know, but nobody ever thought that this was really the ideal way for academics to be taught. So we're, as organizations, trying to meet our objectives in terms of course outlines and things, and that goes for the public school systems too. But the home is where people are right now. And moms and dads have to take, that's where they can have their control of how is that narrative going to be written and what are they going to say? What is that story going to be when these kids are 20 and they come back to look at this experience? You know, when I ask that, is it going to be, oh my gosh, I was so stuck to the computer all the time, all I did? Or is it that mom and dad brought some of my schooling to life? And we had the greatest time. I remember going and baking, or I remember going outside and exploring. And so those are the narratives that I ask parents to think about in terms of their pressure to homeschool. And I mean this for our faculty, staff, and our students, because everybody is struggling for varied reasons, and it's their own reasons. And again, we have to honor that.
Well, Dr. Jennifer Hernandez, who is a professor and program coordinator in Human Services and Social Work Studies, thank you for joining me today on Middlesex Moments.
Thank you so much.
And many thanks to all of you, our listeners, for joining us for another edition of Middlesex Moments. As always, you can visit us in person, and remember to wear a face mask if you do. Our main campus is located at 100 Training Hill Road in Middletown. And of course, you can visit us online at mxcc.edu. For everyone at Middlesex Community College, I'm Steve Minkler, and we'll see you next week.